Here we are again. It's always such a pleasure. Greetings, everyone, from Moscow, from a relatively quiet side area in Moscow. I'm standing next to, it's called the Patriarchal Ponds in English. I think it's actually called, ponds in the plural, even though it seems like there's only one of them. So when I was last here in Moscow 4 years ago, this was like one thing that I wanted to visit and catch on film, but didn't have the possibility to do because I was here on the 5th of May, which is Victory Day, and they had actually closed off the city center because of the parade there. So I'm here, and I just wanted to capture this on video because I didn't catch it last time. I mean, it's okay. I have to admit that now that I'm here, it's not really that impressive. It's not like it's worth a trip to Moscow just to see this, because it's just like a rectangular pool of water. But okay, for completeness' sake, now I've got this in video. But this obviously isn't the reason why I'm here. I mean, the real reason why I came back to Russia and why I'm making a video about being here is because I had the same question on my mind that I'm sure many, many people have on their minds, and that is, what's changed? What's it like in Russia now? How has life changed over the past little while? Well, sorry, I wanted to get out of the way of somebody who was taking a photo. They say truth is stranger than fiction, and sometimes it is. But truth is also often more mundane than fiction, because if you believe what many people have heard, there's this idea that things are just crazy here in Russia right now, that everything is falling apart and everybody is, I don't need to tell you what the common external perception is, like the common perception of life in Russia from people who are not in Russia. But honestly, my impression is, and I heard this from most of the people I talked to, life here hasn't changed that much. I mean, the biggest change, I guess, is that you can't really buy things from online stores anymore because of reasons. And for me, the biggest pain in the butt for me, like the biggest sort of negative aspect that's changed, is I can't buy anything with my bank cards anymore, because obviously, I don't live here. I have a foreign bank account, and so trying to use my bank card to pay for things does not work. The transactions just don't work because Russia has been cut off from the global financial network. I can't even withdraw cash. Like, if I go to an ATM, I mean, they have ATMs here, but they don't work except with Russian cards. So it's interesting because for Russian people, not much has changed. Like, if you're a Russian living here and you have a Russian bank account, then your perception of life here probably has not changed very much. But for external people like myself, for tourists like myself, who need money to pay for hotels and food and things like that, it's a giant pain. Your only hope, I mean, the only thing that I can do, and I guess the only thing that anybody can do, is pay everything in cash. So what I had to do is I had to withdraw a huge amount of cash. Like, I withdrew probably considerably more cash than I needed for the trip, and brought it with me and got it exchanged. There are places here that will exchange foreign currency for Russian rubles. So I did that, and then and I have to pay everything in cash. Cards do not work unless it's a Russian bank account, which I don't have. So that's it kind of brings me back to the common sentiment, which a lot of people have said, that all this blockading of Russia, all these sanctions and things, they hurt other countries as much as they hurt Russia, if not more so. And I don't know if that's really true. I mean, it's okay. I'm not going to start getting into a big discussion about which country suffers more from sanctions. It's not a contest. It's not supposed to be a contest to see who. It's not a race to see who can get more disadvantaged by sanctions. But honestly, like I've been here in Russia now for a couple of days. I first went to St. Petersburg, met with a couple of old work colleagues there. Came here to Moscow, met with a couple of colleagues here who used to live in St. Petersburg when I was working there, but have since moved to Moscow. And now I'm just being a tourist. Now I'm just walking around. And I didn't really make many videos. Actually, I didn't make any videos because, you know, last time I was here, I already pretty much filmed everything that I wanted to film in Moscow. But since I'm here, and since I wanted to film this but didn't, I just wanted to make a little video saying hi. And I know a lot of people will say negative things. I'm sure some people have negative reactions and say, why did you come here? Don't you know that you're supporting a so-and-so? I mean, look, this is not a political statement. This is not a political video. I'm just here to see how things are. I'm just here to see what the situation is like, what life is like for everyday normal people. And like, I'm surprised. I expected something. I expected to see some kind of difference, some kind of noticeable difference in everyday life, but I'm really not seeing any, honestly. And I guess that's probably partially deliberate. I mean, yeah, there's probably partly a deliberate effort to make it seem like everything's normal. I realize that. But they're doing a pretty good job because I wouldn't have noticed any difference. So yeah, I guess I'll go to the other pond that I wanted to see, because there's another one. If I go there, I'll make a video of it. And also, since I'm here, I've only in my life in Russia ever been to St. Petersburg and Moscow, which are like the two, major cities in Russia. But since I'm here, and I still have some vacation time ahead of me, I'm probably going to try to go to some other Russian cities, some smaller, like only 1 million sized cities that I haven't been to before. So if I see anything there, I might make a quick video of that. But if not, then here you go, the scene from Russia, from Moscow. Okay, and here's the other pond that I wanted to film. I'm not at the pond yet, but I'm in front of the metro station. So it's called, this place is called Chistые prudy, which literally means clean ponds. I'm going to hope that they're actually clean. I guess we'll find out. I've never been here, so wanted to get a little footage of this as well. This is, who is this? Griboyedov. That's Griboyedov, who must have been important in Russian history, because I remember there's a canal in St. Petersburg named after him, but I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know who he was or what he did. I actually forgot to mention, because I got caught up in talking about other things, but at the other place where I was, the patriarchal ponds, they are significant in Russian culture because in the famous Soviet novel The Master and the Margarita, one of the significant scenes of the novel takes place at that pond. Forgot to mention that. And this pond that I'm going to, the clean pond, also features, well, a significant event occurs here at this pond in the Soviet movie Я шагаю по Москве, which means basically translates as I walk around Moscow. I think the English title is Walking the Streets of Moscow, but a more literal translation of the title is I Walk Around Moscow. So yeah, I don't have really a lot to say. I mean, honestly, like I said, I came here to see what's different. There's not that much that's different. And if anybody's thinking about coming here, my only advice would be bring lots of cash. Vastly overestimate how much cash you're going to need. I know people don't usually like to carry lots of cash with them, but if you're going to come here now, you will want to bring a lot of cash, because everything, your hotel, your travel, if you want to travel to other cities with a train or bus or plane or whatever, and obviously food and other things like souvenirs, whatever else you buy, everything has to be paid cash. Your cards will not work here unless you have a Russian bank account. So to be on the safe side, overestimate how much cash you need, because if you run out of cash, you are really screwed. If I run out of cash here now, I cannot do anything. I can't even leave, because I actually haven't bought my train ticket out yet. I haven't bought my train ticket out of Russia yet. So if I run out of cash, I'm stuck here. Like I am really, really screwed then, because I have no way of getting cash. ATMs don't work. Can't buy anything with my card. So yeah, that's my only warning. But other than that, I mean, I went through the border checkpoint. There was nothing unusual. They checked my passport, my visa. They said, okay, no problem, go ahead. Everybody's been quite normal. Like I said, it almost seems like nothing's changed. And I guess if it seems that way, then for the people that live here, probably not much has. So yeah, and I've been thinking, because I've been living in Germany for the past few years now, I've been thinking of leaving Germany and going somewhere else, because I should be very happy. Like by any sort of rational measure that can be measured, I should be very happy to live in Germany, because it's relatively politically stable. It's economically pretty solid. I mean, you don't get much better countries in the world right now. But it's almost like it's too perfect, like everything's just too systematized, like everything is just there's too much Ordnung, and it becomes, you end up with a society where people are strangely inhuman. I mean, I guess I knew that at the time when I first went to Germany, but it's differently now that I've lived there for a few years and kind of experienced it every day for that time. Whereas here, people here are a bit more human in ways that I think are hard to describe. I'm going to not really try to describe it, because I'm not sure that it's something that can really be put very well into words. It's more like something you have to have experienced for yourself and felt for yourself. It's an emotion that you need to feel. It's something you need to feel. You need to feel humanity. And if you don't, feel it personally, then it's not really something that can be rationally described. But if anybody's thinking of wanting to live here, then I just want to say, I mean, I don't know if I want to live here again. I think most of you folks know I used to live here. I lived and worked here for, not here in Moscow, but here in Russia for a year. And it was a great experience for me. And, if I tell people that I'm even thinking about going back to Russia, people tell me, oh, you're so stupid. Like, how stupid, how reckless and crazy can you be to want to go back to a place like that? I don't think that's true. I don't agree with that sentiment. And I'm not saying that it's perfect here. I mean, there's no perfect country. There's no place in the world that's perfect. I'm not even saying necessarily that Russia is better than Germany or other countries. It's not like it's better or worse necessarily, but every place has a certain kind of vibe, a certain sort of mood or spirit or culture or whatever that kind of lives within it. And different people may find that they get along better or find themselves more at home in different places because of that. So I'm not saying that Russia is objectively better than any other country by any kind of rational, logical measures, but it may be a better place to live for some people based on, what kind of lifestyle you enjoy, what kind of social, cultural mentality you have and want to see in other people. So I'm considering what it would be like to live here, and I got to be honest, my imaginations of this place are not that negative, But I appreciate that being here as a tourist for a few days is a very different experience from having to live here every day. I mean, that's something that, you can only really understand if you've experienced it. And I'm saying all this just because it's how I feel. I know a lot of people are going to think that that I have some kind of ulterior motives, or that I'm being like motivated to say this. I guess I can't prove that I'm not. I mean, I have no proof that I'm not, but I'll say that I'll claim. I don't know if anyone will believe me, but I will say I'm not a shill for Putin or the Kremlin or anyone else. This is just my honest feelings and my honest opinions, speaking as a person who does feel a certain sort of emotional resonance with this place, as flawed as it is. I mean, again, I understand that this is a flawed country. There's no doubt about it. There are problems here, and not just relating to the current situation. I mean, yeah, the current situation is on people's minds, but I think there's a more long-term kind of trend that reflects just a difference in mentality. And I'm not saying that mentality is right or wrong. It's just different. Some people identify with it, some people don't. And if you find that you do, it doesn't make you a bad person to feel like there's maybe something here that you don't get in other countries. That's all I wanted to say. I think that's it for me from here. Hello to everyone. Hope that everyone's doing well. And yeah, I did want to go to the other side. I wanted to actually travel to Ukraine and make a video there as sort of a counterpoint, but yeah, I think that is not happening now with the current situation. I think that would be, from a securities perspective, I think that would be unwise. And I realize it's very unfortunate. I mean, I understand the problems. I understand the negative reactions that people will have. And, people may have, people have reasons for that. People will have those reactions not without reason. But, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not going to Ukraine on this trip. I just don't feel like it's safe. And I mean, there are journalists covering the situation there better than I ever could anyway, so. All right, I'm going to stop now. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care of yourselves. And like I said, if I go into any other Russian cities where I might see something interesting, I'll probably take some videos there and might add those onto the end of this. If not, then thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, sorry. I realized after making the previous video that I missed the pond. For some reason, I thought that those fountains there, I thought maybe that was like the end of it because there's this white building here in the way. But no, you have to walk past the white building. This is the pond. This is the clean pond. And I gotta say, that looks like quite a lot of scum there on the water, like where these leaves have gathered. This is like a pretty scummy part of the water, so I'm gonna guess the water is actually not that clean, although this guy's fishing here, so I guess if you can fish here, it must be fairly clean. Like, are there actually fish in this? I guess, probably. I mean, I'm assuming that there are fish in the pond, because the guy probably wouldn't be fishing there just for fun if there weren't actual fish here to catch. So, okay, sorry, I missed this, but now we're here. This is the Chistye Prudy, and again, just as previously, the name says ponds plural, as if there were several, but it appears to be just one. It's basically just a plain rectangular body of water, very similar to the previous one actually, except just in a slightly different place of the city. It's not even that far away, actually. The other one, the Patriarchal Pond, is a bit west of the city center, and this is a bit east of the city center. But other than that, they are very similar and fairly close to the city center. And I guess that's probably a restaurant. Yeah, it looks like a restaurant here, kind of jutting into the pond. So I could walk all the way around, but actually, why bother? I mean, it's just looks pretty. I'm pretty sure it's going to look the same over on that side as from where I was. So I'm just going to stop here. But greetings from the so-called clean ponds. It's actually two lies. It's not clean and it's not ponds. It's just one pond. So greetings from the not so clean pond somewhere in Moscow. Okay, I'm here in Voronezh, and I found something wonderful. This is a Svobodная biblioteka, literally means a free library. It's one of these public bookshelves where people will just leave books, and you can take a book, leave a book as you wish. I really like the idea. This is something that's common in Germany and German-speaking countries like Austria and Switzerland. I even saw one in Liechtenstein. But they're not that common in other places. There's one, I remember seeing one in Debrecen in Hungary, but that's kind of a German-influenced area because Hungary has sort of existed under strong German-Austrian influence for a long time. So I want to check it out, but notice that it's all empty. I mean, the idea is great, but all these shelves are empty except for this one. There are a couple of small books in here, and look what we have here. They're both in German. Schau dich and Niemand ist vergessen, nix ist vergessen. So I guess this is kind of a German phenomenon. I guess, public bookshelves are kind of somehow a German thing, because the only two books that exist here were probably brought by German people. Okay, I've been trying to find a good place to actually talk about Voronezh, and I guess this is as good a place as any on this little sort of somewhat dilapidated footpath down to the river there that you see not too far away. This scene, actually, this steep sort of path going down to the river, for some reason it reminds me a bit of being in Heidelberg, which is a good thing because Heidelberg is, for me, the most beautiful city in Germany. And Voronezh is a beautiful city, actually. This is my first time here. I'm really glad I came here, actually. I wasn't sure what to expect. I remember the only real opinion I had of Voronezh was from my second wife, who was from St. Petersburg, and she had been to Voronezh a few times, and she said she hated it. She said it's such a horrible city, so ugly, and so on. But I'm actually really liking it here. This is my first time in a place in Russia other than Moscow and St. Petersburg, and it's not necessarily that distinctive. I can't necessarily say that Voronezh has a very strong personal character. It feels pretty much like, it feels similar to other Slavic cities in Central Europe, like places in Hungary or Slovakia or something like that, or for that matter, outskirts of larger cities. Like a suburb on the outskirts of St. Petersburg might feel like this as well. But still, it's pretty nice here. I like it. I'm glad I came here. So, I don't have a lot to say still, but I rewatched the previous videos that I made while I was in Moscow, and I noted that I seemed a bit nervous. Probably my style seemed like I was a bit nervous making the videos. The main reason I guess there were two main reasons for that. One reason is because I knew that people were going to judge me for being here in Russia and for making positive statements about Russia, speaking positively about Russia. Again, I understand people's reasons for their negative reactions. I understand, I know the situation, as everyone does. But I stand by my words. I am happy to be here again. I do like this place. I love this place, and by this place I mean Russia. Even it occurred to me recently that people love countries in much the same way that they love people. You love a person despite their flaws. People are flawed, but to really love a person means to love them in spite of their mistakes and their flaws. And countries are the same way. You can love a country, and if you do, then obviously you'll love it despite its flaws, because no country is perfect, just as no person is perfect. Hey, there's a cat walking on the... I don't know why people always get crazy when they see cats. It's just a cat. I've seen lots of cats in my life, but it's a cat. So yeah. I do love Russia, and I am happy to be here again. I was gonna walk that, but actually, yeah, I better stick to the staircase. It's always here for a reason. So yeah, the first reason I was a bit nervous was just because I was worried that I was going to say something that would trigger some people and get them saying things like, well, do you know what you're even saying? Do you understand what you're... Yeah, I know. I know what I'm saying, and I choose to say these things and accept the consequences of whatever people may say. I mean, people's opinions of me are not really that important to me, so you can say about me what you will. My feelings are my own. And the second reason I was worried was because of what I was saying before about money. So when I was budgeting for this trip, for some reason I had not anticipated. I mean, I guess I should have known this, but somehow I didn't really internalize this idea. It didn't really register with me that bank cards will not work. Usually when I'm in a hotel, I pay for the hotel with my bank card, and that would work in the past, or, bank card or credit card. That would work in the past. But it's not working now because, again, Russia's been cut off from the global financial network, SWIFT or whatever. Actually, I think SWIFT is for POS, point of sale transactions, and then there's some other system that's used for ATMs, but neither of them work. So, oh boy, crossing here is going to be, fun. And by fun, I mean it's not going to be much fun. I'm going to have to hope that people stop for me. Okay, managed it. I hate that kind of thing. I was going to walk along the river there, but it seems that this area is under construction. So, unfortunately, I guess that's not going to be possible. That's too bad. Let's see what we can salvage out of this. So yeah, I had brought enough cash to pay for, I brought more than enough cash to pay for food and, whatever other sort of daily purchases I might make. But for some reason, I stupidly did not budget for hotels, which is usually like the most expensive thing when you're traveling, because I'm so used to paying for hotels with a card. And now when I got here, realized, oh, you know what? My cards don't work here. How am I going to pay for hotels? So I was kind of worried. When I was in Moscow, I was kind of nervous because I had in the back of my mind, how am I going to pay for the rest of this trip? I did not bring enough cash to pay for my hotels and things, and my cards don't work here. So how am I gonna do this? And like I was saying, that the worst thing that could happen, probably the very worst thing that could happen to me, is that I completely run out of cash, because then I can't even get out of Russia, because I hadn't booked my ticket out of Russia yet. So lessons learned: if you're going to come to Russia, plan your whole trip in advance. What I was going to do, that's nice. There's a cable just sticking out of the ground with exposed wires. I'm going to assume it's not live. I'm going to hope that it's not electrically live. Maybe I should test it. Let's try. No, I'm not going to test it. I'm assuming it's not live, or they wouldn't have left it. I hope they wouldn't have left it like that. Yeah, if you're going to come to Russia, make sure that you plan the whole trip in advance. What I did was I planned like the first half of the trip, and then I figured, okay, I'll make up the rest as I go. When I'm in Moscow, I'll decide what places I want to go to after that, which usually works fairly well for me. I mean, it's worked in the past. It was not a good decision this time, because I found myself in Moscow and realizing that I didn't have a ticket back home yet, and I was not sure how or if I was going to get one, and if I was going to be able to afford it after paying for my hotels and things like that. So, moral of the story is, if you're going to come here, book everything in advance, so that worst case scenario, if you run out of money, at least you can still get out. Because again, you're not going to have any way to access your money while you're here unless you bring cash. But I did get that taken care of. Here in Voronezh, I booked a train for tomorrow to Vladikavkaz, which is in the Caucasian mountains, because I'm going to Georgia. Georgia's the next country after this, so I'm planning to go to Tbilisi, which is the capital of Georgia, and that will be happening over the next couple of days. So yeah, taking a train I already booked the train, paid for the train ticket to Vladikavkaz tomorrow. That is good. The only thing that's open is getting from Vladikavkaz to Georgia. It's another thing I hadn't really anticipated. Because I was thinking about the EU, how the European Union cut ties with Russia, but of course it makes sense that other countries did as well. So all the connections that used to exist between Russia and the Caucasian countries, they've probably been scrambled as well. Not scrambled, but eliminated. So if there was a regular bus line running between Russia and Georgia, I'm not sure that there is one now. My hope is that I can find a marsrutka, which is basically it's kind of like a short bus. I'll take the short bus. It's like a little minibus service that often unofficially it's quite a common thing in Russia. These are sort of unofficial bus routes operated by private people, often just by one person just has a van, and they just start making a bus service out of their van or something like that. It's something very sort of mom and pop. But that's a very common thing in Russia. So I'm hoping that I can find somebody running a marsrutka to Georgia. If I cannot find that, worst case scenario, I might have to hitchhike. I might end up having to hitchhike to Georgia, which is also a common thing in Russia. But I don't think it'll come to that. I'm sure. I feel fairly sure that marshrutkas are still in operation from Vladikavkaz, so that will hopefully be fine. It's actually a really nice scene. Gosh, and look at that. There's like a beach here. There's a beach on the river. Man, this is such a nice place. I don't know why my ex-wife, I don't know why she said Voronezh is so horrible. I guess because she was from St. Petersburg. She was very much into the big city lifestyle, very much into wealth and fashion, things like that. I mean, I don't mean to denigrate her or speak badly about my ex-wife, but that was her kind of thing. It's probably one of the many reasons why she wasn't happy with me, because I'm definitely not a very fashionable person. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you're into that, you can see it's not the most glamorous city. It's definitely not. It's not bright lights, Hollywood, kind of glitzy, glamorous. It's not that kind of a city. No, not at all. If you want that kind of thing, then yeah, Moscow or St. Petersburg is your pot of jam. But I mean, it's just such a nice place. I actually spoke with one of my, I don't want to film these people, there's a guy and a woman there who are having a romantic moment together. I don't want to disturb them with my filming, so I'm going to see if they walk by themselves. I spoke with one of my Russian comrades today, and he told me that Voronezh is actually, probably because it's smaller than Moscow and St. Petersburg, it has more of the feel of the Soviet Union. And he said that people here are friendlier, like people here are nicer, friendlier, more patient. The pace of life is slower than in Moscow and St. Petersburg. And I guess I can see that because, again, it is a smaller city. I mean, it's not a small city. It has a population of like 1 million people. It's not a small city, but it's certainly smaller than Moscow and St. Petersburg. So it's small by Russian standards, I guess, small compared to those two cities. So, okay, these people are really just going to stand there. And, I mean, it's nice that they're sharing a moment, but okay, I'm just going to try to walk by them. Most people probably really don't care, but I do try to be conscientious about whom I capture on film, because I know some people don't appreciate being filmed. And you don't see a lot of idiots walking around with cameras the way I do, so I know that yeah, anyway. So yeah, that's another reason why I guess I feel more calm now, because being here in Voronezh, I mean, it is true, I perceptibly feel that the pace of life here is a bit slower. It's a little bit more of a calm city. Still a very Russian city, but not necessarily a distinct city, not necessarily very different from other places. And I'm glad I came here. I did want to see some of those other places. Like, I had plans to go to Volgograd, but for some reason I couldn't find a train going there. Like, I actually used the app, like RZD, which is the Russian national railway operator, like the Deutsche Bahn in Germany. They have obviously a website and an app where you can look for train routes, train schedules. And for some reason I could not find a train from here to Volgograd, which is very strange. And They did have trains running from here to Rostov-na-Donu, which I've been told is also a very nice city, but I was advised, everyone I asked, every single person I talked to about this advised me, don't go to Rostov right now because of the, well, it's very close to the Ukrainian border, and therefore, because of the current situation, it's apparently unsafe, because there have been rocket attacks and drone attacks from Ukraine on Russian cities. Like, there have been several on Belgrade, I think it's called. I always mix it up with Belgrade, which is the capital of Serbia, but there's a similarly named city in Russia close to the Ukrainian border, which has been the subject of several rocket attacks. And I guess the same problem exists in Rostov. So people told me, now don't go to Rostov. Right now is a bad time for that. So yeah, unfortunately, this is going to be the last Russian city of this trip. And like I said, yeah, tomorrow I'm taking a train to Vladikavkaz, and then from there, gonna somehow have to get to Georgia, and then that will be the end of this Russian trip. But yeah, I'm really glad I came here, and I have enjoyed it tremendously. I mean, the only real problem was the thing about the money, about not being able to get to withdraw money, and also the train trip. So to save money and time, instead of getting a hotel last night, I came here in an overnight train. It's actually a good way to save money, because getting like a sleeper train here, where you sleep in, those bunk beds, where there are like several people sleeping on bunk beds in the same room in a train, in an overnight train, that's way cheaper than booking a hotel room. So it means you save on the cost of a hotel, and you still get to where you're going. So nice. But yeah, the problem with the train trip was that it was very bumpy. The train trip between Moscow and St. Petersburg is pretty smooth, because those are the two main cities of Russia, so that stretch of train track is very developed and maintained. But boy, that train trip from Moscow to Voronezh, it was quite bumpy. Some of the track there appears to be in pretty bad shape, because several times in the night I woke up by the train just being jostled around quite a bit. It was a very jostly experience. So yeah, was woken up a few times by jostlement of the train. A lot of jostlement happening, or jostling. But other than that, it was okay. So yeah, main problem is, again, just not being able to get your money here. And yeah, I've had a good time. It was nice to finally see a Russian city that's not Moscow or St. Petersburg. I actually wonder what it would be like to live here. I almost envy the people who grew up here. It seems like it might have been a nice place to grow up, but there are so many nice places in the world. I mean, you can't grow up in all of them. You can't grow up in every nice place in the world. And to be honest, I mean, where I did grow up wasn't that bad. I mean, there are certainly much worse places that I could have grown up. So I guess I should be thankful that I grew up where I did, and not say, "Oh, I wish I could have experienced life in." I mean, there's no point to thinking like that. You can't be born everywhere. You can only be born in one place and grow up in one place at a time. I mean, some people grow up in multiple countries. Some people do move around between countries because they're so-called military brats or whatever, but I was not a military brat. And even if you do that, you can only, again, you can only be in one place at a time. So at some point you kind of have to settle for something, take what you can get, because you can't get everything. Anyway, I think I'm done filming here in Russia. Well, I'll probably get like a small bit of, I'll probably try to film a bit of Vladikavkaz while I'm there, and then that'll be it for Russia. And I don't know how things will go in the Caucasian countries. I am planning to go to Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. I already have my visa for Azerbaijan, and for the other two countries I don't need a visa, so shouldn't have any problems getting in, hopefully. But I don't know if I'll make any videos there, because, well, I don't know if I'll have anything to say or anything really interesting to show there. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, greetings from Voronezh, and take care. I guess I will talk to you folks later. Okay, I realized after filming the previous videos that I hadn't really shown much of Voronezh itself. I mean, I showed the beach by the river and I showed a bookshelf. I didn't really show much of the actual city. Well, the reason for that is because, you know, it's a Russian city. It looks pretty much like other Russian cities. Just at a glance, it doesn't necessarily look that distinctive, like I said, but I might as well show something. So here's Lenin Plaza. There's good old Lenin gesturing with his hand forward, kind of showing the way forward. And there's Armada Plaza. I guess it's a hotel, and here are some other buildings, and there's what looks like a park and some building that it has a steeple kind of like a church, but I don't think that's a church. I don't know what that is. And that's a theater over there. So there you go. This is probably, I was trying to figure out what's a central point, because Voronezh doesn't really have like a very good city center as far as I mean, this is the center, but it doesn't have like one central square as far as I can tell. But if it does, this is probably it. This is probably Ploshchad Lenina, the Lenin Square. This is probably the central square of Voronezh. So greetings from Lenin Plaza in Voronezh. Oh boy, what a couple of days it has been. So I'm here at Freedom Square, which is one of the main squares in Tbilisi, Georgia, which is kind of funny because it's actually more like a circle, but that's what it's called, Freedom Square. So yesterday I left Voronezh pretty early to take a train to Vladikavkaz. That was a 25-hour train ride. Yeah, and it wasn't bad. I mean, I have to give credit where credit is due. RZD, the Russian national rail operator, they have done a lot to modernize their trains. They have a bad reputation because their trains used to be kind of old and falling apart and crappy, but they've modernized most of the trains recently, and they're a lot better than they used to be. So the train ride wasn't actually that bad. Mostly it was just long. And yeah, after 25 hours, I arrived in Vladikavkaz, which is in southern Russia, close to the border with Georgia. And I would have liked to have gotten some footage of Vladikavkaz while I was there. I wanted to film it a little bit, but as soon as I got out of the train station, there were tons of guys there saying Tbilisi, Tbilisi. Basically a bunch of guys who were not even part of any legitimate business. They were just guys who happened to have a van. So not even really a marshrutka, because a marshrutka usually has at least a line number. Not even a marshrutka, more like just people making private business with their own vans, driving people over the border. So I could have stuck around in Vladikavkaz for a while. I probably could have stayed there for an hour and then done some filming and then made the trip. But I didn't want to waste any time. I just wanted to be honest, I just wanted to get it over and done with. So unfortunately, I didn't get any of Vladikavkaz on camera, which is a shame because it's actually quite a nice city. It's very different from northern Russia. I mean, you definitely see the sort of Asian Oriental kind of influence in Vladikavkaz. It has a more Asian Islam style, Islamic influence sort of architecture. You definitely see that in the architecture there. And the whole feel of the city, like the whole sort of mood there, and also the way people drive is very southern. It actually feels like being in the Balkans. It reminds me a lot of a Balkan city, like somewhere in Serbia or somewhere like that. So it was nice in Vladikavkaz. Like I said, would have liked to have filmed it at least a little bit, but didn't do so, unfortunately. Now I'm here in Tbilisi. So yeah, I found a person who was driving people here from Vladikavkaz. I didn't go with the first person. There were guys literally standing right at the door to the train station, and they were just trying to pick people off right as soon as they got out of the train. I didn't want to go with them because those guys who were standing there, they usually charge slightly higher rates. I did a bit of looking around, but basically if you're there outside the Vladikavkaz train station and you just kind of look around yourself like you're really confused and you have no idea where you're going, somebody's probably going to ask you where you're going. And if you tell them Tbilisi, then they'll say, I can take you to Tbilisi. The guy charged me 3,500 rubles. That's right now 100 rubles is about $1 or €1. So let's say it's like $35, which is not bad, honestly. And the trip, oh my goodness, what a trip. The trip from Vladikavkaz to here is incredible. Going over the Caucasian mountains is really an experience. Oh yeah, that's Pushkin. This is a monument to Pushkin there. That's nice. It's not just that the mountains are beautiful, although it's that as well. The whole experience is just so harrowing because the whole time traffic was insane. You had like these giant lines of tractor trailers blocking one lane of the highway, and so you had basically two lanes of traffic driving on one lane of highway because the other lane was blocked. And we constantly had all kinds of animals. We had cows and donkeys and dogs and cats and chickens and sheep crossing the street and blocking traffic. There were people like driving their cows across the street. It was like something out of a movie. You know those movies where you see people driving their cows on the street and it's like it's holding up traffic? It was just like that. It was literally like a movie scene. Kind of scary. I mean, I have to give credit to the guy who did the driving. The driver was really good. He knew what he was doing. He probably does that route every day. So good driver, good guy. Charged me a fair price, I would say. I would say 3,500 rubles is a fair price for a trip like that. So he was a pretty good guy. Props to him. And boy, yeah, quite a trip. So now I'm here in Tbilisi. And I guess that's it. I mean, obviously I'm done with Russia. I'm not going back to Russia on this trip. And am I going to make a video about Tbilisi? Probably not. Because honestly, first impressions here aren't that great. It's not necessarily... I mean, here it looks okay because it's a central square. This is like one of the most important squares. But I wouldn't necessarily say this is a city that I have very positive feelings about. I need to explore it some more. I need to explore Tbilisi a bit more and kind of figure out how I feel about it. But right now, I mean, I don't feel bad. Like, I don't get a very bad feeling about it, but it's not especially positive. It does seem kind of dilapidated and a little bit... yeah, I don't want to say too many bad things about it because I've only seen a little bit of it so far, but I'm probably not going to make more videos of it. But greetings from Tbilisi. Hope that folks enjoyed my retelling of my trip to Russia, and I'll talk to you all later.